One. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I am Ben. Next to me is Joel, and below me, the both of us, is Brendan. Not because of rank or anything. That's just how the cameras work.
Really random order.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about we did all these Norse mythology episodes, and we decided, you know what? There's a lot of weird stuff that we can't just spend an entire episode talking about it. So we're going to do that. And with that, it's going to wrap up our little mini-series on Norse mythology, at which point Brendan is going to take over as host, and we're going to talk about a bunch of Warhammer stuff. So we're going to go through the history of the game. We're going to talk about some high points, stuff like the Badab War, the Horus Heresy. Going to go into some Xenos factions, all of that fun shit, because the game has changed drastically since when it started back in the 70s, and we just feel like it'd be fun to kind of go through that little history and have a journey along the way.
To be honest, it makes about as much sense as Norse mythology. So
yeah.
It's
Except we just have way more primary sources for Warhammer 40k than we do Norse mythology. We have 3 books for Norse mythology. And then
honestly, Rick Riordan with the Magnus Chase series has done more to broaden the knowledge of Norse myth than the fucking Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda.
Yeah. So we're going to get into that in a couple weeks, but other than that, next week we will be covering the book, our homework assignment from Professor Brendan, Killers of the Flower Moon, by, I can't remember the author's name, but anyway, it's upstairs.
Forensic Psychology 126.
Yeah.
It's by David Gran.
Yeah.
And this will be on the test.
Yes.
Oh, good. It's an open book.
Yeah.
Is it an open book test? Or
I mean, if you bought the book, it's only fair.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be one of those professors. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so... No, it's actually...
We could have all done that, for fuck's sake. Because name one time you were like, I'm going to do this shit from memory.
Yeah.
Every professor I visited after class for questions, they kept all their books.
Yeah.
Right.
Their books from everywhere.
Some of those shelves back there are all textbooks.
I sold mine back for beer money, but that's just me.
I didn't Lehman Runs. If we were Primark spending, if you don't know 40K, you will learn that in our next episode.
Yeah. I was all about sending them back. They're like, how much is this book? $187? What are you giving me back? $2.75? Perfect. $2.75.
Honestly, it depended. I did keep some of my favorites, but
I kept almost all of them after I paid an arm and a fucking leg for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. So, last episode of Norse mythology, we're talking about, as Ben said, the weird shit.
Yeah.
The stuff that you listen to, and when they say it, you're like, "What'd you say?"
He did what?
And this started me thinking about it when I thought about the beast, and I'm gonna fuck this up. Hrimnir. My son. Yeah.
I have to see it to try it.
No vowels. Too many consonants.
Yeah.
It's the boat, right?
No, that's Naglfar. But my sons and I have been reading Magnus Chase, a wonderful series by Rick Riordan of a 16-year-old kid who became an Enhryar, which is a warrior of Valhalla, and they talk about Hrimnir, which is a creature that is killed and eaten every night in Valhalla. And I thought, that's weird, which led to thinking about all the other stuff. So each one of us has picked 3 weird things that we're going to be discussing, a little bit of backstory, and there's not a lot. Like most of the stuff in Norse myth, it's like 3 sentences, maybe a whole paragraph, that's it. But the imagery is amazing. And I'm going to start it off with Naglfar. Naglfar is the ship of the Dishonored Dead, and it is comprised of toenail clippings and fingernail clippings.
Here it is.
And
Everybody
and-
that died.
and hair, right?
I think it's just toenail clippings.
Oh, I thought the sails were made of like hair or something.
That would make sense. I think I misspelled this. I think I mispronounced it. I think it's It's Nafelgler.
Nafelkar.
Yeah.
Nafelkir. Something like that.
Every time Ben tries to sound good.
It's in me blood.
Hair, man. It's the...
Yeah, it's because Ben's got that deep voice and makes everything sound like very authoritarian.
You just have to pretend you're slightly drunk and just like slur it out a little bit, and it works.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey.
So yeah, whatever the hell it is, the ship of nails is what it's called.
Yeah.
I looked up several sources, and there's a shitload of like Norwegian metal bands called Nagelfar.
That's funny.
Of course.
Well, because they probably didn't look up what it's made of. They're just like, oh, Ship of the Dead, awesome.
No, it is. I said it right. Nagelfar, nail bearer.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. It became such a prolific belief that when a person died, specifically a non-warrior died, they would cut off their fingernails and throw them into the fire, so not to add to the mass of Nagelfar. And the story is as it goes, it builds and builds, and now it's too heavy. It's in Helheim, and it is too heavy to sail. But when Ragnarok comes, you're going to have 3 winters that are so bad that the sea will freeze to the bottom. And Nagelfar will sail, bringing its hordes of Jotun and dishonored dead and all the people into Ragnarok on the ice. So it's going to skate along the ice.
So it's not going to be a boat anymore. It's going to be a sled.
Kind of a sled, but it's a boat, so shut up. It looks like a boat. It acts like a boat. No, it doesn't act like a boat. It's a sled.
Damn it.
I'm sick of you two smart fucks. Yeah, so that was it. That's probably the grossest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
You know,
just thinking about that one is kind of weird.
Yeah, it describes like burial rites in chapter 51 of the Pro Zeta. It's burial rites that burying the dead with untrimmed nails. Now, if you don't trim their nails, the ship will get bigger.
Huh.
So, yeah. And it's going to be captained by the Jotun Rim.
Huh.
Yep. Pretty gross.
Sounds gross.
All right, next
Well, moving on. I thought a real funky one that shows up is, we talked about him briefly in our Yggdrasil episode, but Ratatosk, who is a gigantic fucking squirrel that goes from the highest branches of the world tree all the way down to its deepest roots. And his whole shtick is just, there's a gigantic eagle that lives in the top of the world tree that hates this fucking dragon named Nidhogg that lives at the base and drinks from the sap of the world tree, and they literally trade insults at each other via Ratatosk. So the dragon Nidhogg will be like, "Tell that fucking bird-brained fuck that I think his feathers look like shit." And then the squirrel will go to the top of the tree and is like, "Nidhogg says your feathers look like shit." And then the eagles will like, "Tell that scaly bastard that blah blah blah," and vice versa. So they basically trade insults back and forth, and also he loves gossip. So what he likes to do is like he'll spread it to the gods and stuff and tell them these gossips, but he basically also tries to keep it going. So if like the insults aren't as bad, he'll like make it like he'll during his journey he'll like come up with a better one to make it like even worse, so that they just like his whole point is to spread discord and hate between these two like gigantic monsters, and then also to spread gossip up and down the world tree, like that's completely unrelated. So this article that I read run says that it seems even the ancient Norse knew that squirrels were really dicks. I mean, think about it. All they do is chatter at you all the time if you step too close to their tree, and they're just like, and you're like, okay, makes sense. That's mine.
Yeah. All right, Brendan.
I love the idea that some Scandinavian farmer looked at like chattering squirrels and assumed they're probably talking shit about me.
Yeah. Well, and then just like, well, obviously Yggdrasil has a gigantic one. It's a tree. All trees have squirrels. Yeah.
The tree's big. The squirrels are huge.
Yeah.
So I like dwarves. I like the idea of mystical artifacts. So I covered weird. Yeah,
whoa.
weird artifacts like this one.
Like glowies.
And so I'll start with.
It looked more magical.
Yeah.
The camera.
I'll start with the boat as well. I'll start with Skidbladnir, which is the boat built for the god Freyr, owned by the god Freyr. So it was built by the dwarves, and apparently what happened is, let's see, in the days of old, did Ivaldi's sons, let's see, fashion Skidbladnir, the best of ships for the bright god Freyr, the noble son of North. The best of trees must Yggdrasil be. Skidbladnir, best of boats. And then after that, of all the gods, Odin is greatest. And so it's briefly mentioned in translations as a superlative, which is interesting because everyone said that Baldur's boat was like the nicest, but Skidbladnir is known as the best and is referred to in this way because it was used almost as a troop transport, because all of the Aesir, when they were ready for battle, they could fit on the boat, all of them on their horses, and they could fit on it with no problems. Now, what's very interesting about it is that the sons of Ivaldi, the dwarves who built the ship and gave it to Freyr, designed it so well and with so many parts. They mention it has many parts and it's finely crafted. It's essentially like this giant Swiss Army knife, because when it's not needed at sea and it reaches land, it can be folded up like cloth and fits in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like the first mention, not exactly of like a bag of holding, but the idea of taking something massive and making it small. It's probably the earliest example I can think of.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like the gods would want, like the Vikings would be like, that's the best thing ever, because like mostly they're like seafaring raiders. So it's like if I had a boat that I could fold up and put in my pocket, so that when I got to the end of this river and I want to go to the next river, all I have to do is walk over and pull it out again and unfold it and put it down. We could keep raiding.
Yeah. The origins of the story are probably guys grumbling as they had to carry
like portage their boats or whatever. Yeah.
And like most of the fine artifacts crafted by the dwarves, essentially Loki ran his mouth, and the dwarves built these artifacts essentially to fix what happened. So Loki cut off Sif's hair. Act of mischief. Thor was married to Sif and threatened to break every bone in his body. So Loki, the fast talker that he is, promises to have the Svartafar make Sif a new head of hair that would grow just as any other. Loki goes to Ivaldi's sons and asks them to fix his problems. So he makes Sif new hair. They make Skidbladnir, the boat that they don't even say it's because of magic. They say it has so many parts and it's built so well that it can fold down.
Yeah,
that's what I like. That's what I like about it the most. It's not that it's magic; don't have to explain it. It's the dwarves are that good.
Yeah.
They also make Gungnir, which is Odin's spear.
Yeah.
Loki, I guess he felt bad for Thor because he risks his neck and gets them to make Mjolnir as well. Draupnir, which I'll cover later, and Gulenbursti, which I'll also cover. And the dwarves somehow make him all of these prizes. It's like he's clearing out the prices right. makes them all these prizes, but they go, you know what? The one thing I can't stand is your mouth, and this is where they famously stitch his lips closed.
Well, because the one story that I read was that the reason that happened was because Loki chose one certain dwarf to like make the hair thing, and then and I think Gungnir and the boat, and then he. Because I think that guy owed him a favor or something. But then the Sons of Ivaldi, they got pissed because he's not the best craftsman, we are. Yeah. You're like, you didn't pick me. I've got to prove that my shit's better than that guy's shit. So then the dwarves Brock and his brother made the other stuff, like that we're going to cover later, to like basically prove. And he's like, the gods will get to decide which of our gifts is better, and then if the gods choose mine, then I get to have your head.
Yeah. This is a really weird thread, but this reminds me of Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Like he's a diamond, he's a jewelry seller. He meets Kevin Garnett. He's like, "Can I borrow your Celtics championship ring?" And he pawns it for money. And he puts that money on gambling, but then he loses his bet, so he has to make the money back.
Yeah,
it's like it's all fast talking and absurdity and pissing off everybody.
Yeah.
It ends in a similarly disastrous fashion, I suppose.
Yeah. So we'll finish the story when we cover your other gifts. Joel, what's your next story?
Sorry for my absence. I had to make sure a baby was not going insane.
Yeah.
All right. My next one is Kvasir. Kvasir is, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Yes. Kvasir is a god made of saliva. After the end of the Aesir Vanir War, they got together and had a big party. And they decided to mix a bunch of stuff in a pot, and then they all spat in it. Why, I have no fucking clue. Out of the spit came Kvasir. And Kvasir had spent many years traveling all around the world, learning tons and tons of things. So he became the god of all knowledge. And then he went, he came across the dwarfs Fjalir and Galir, who killed him, drained him of his blood, and mixed his blood with honey, and created the mead of poetry, which imbued the drinker with scholarship and wisdom, so you immediately could speak poetry and knew all things until you sobered up. Yeah, there's one mention of him, that he's made of spit.
I see one. Basically, they wanted to celebrate, so they wanted to make booze. So they chewed up berries, spit them into a pot, and instead of making booze, it was a person. His name literally translates to fermented berry juice.
Yep, pretty great. He's a god made of spit.
So,
not even really good spit. Like you're just like chewing berries, just horked them in there, and you're like, there you go.
So vaguely the predecessor to the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's almost a 1-to-1 relationship. Kool-Aid Man, Kvasir, exactly the same.
Yeah. I've got another funky one. You guys ever looked at clouds?
Nope, never.
Okay. Okay. The big weird fluffy looking shit up in the sky. Well, you ever thought about how those look like brains?
It could.
Yeah. So basically, we talked about Ymir like before, and how they took a bunch of his body parts and like made the world. Well, pretty much the gods, they took Ymir's skull, tossed it up into the air, and that became the sky.
They just gave it a toss, and they're all like, "We're all living under this thing."
And the four corners of his skull are held up by dwarves for all eternity. But basically, the Norse thought that, like, man, those clouds really look like brains. Those must be Ymir's brains. So you're like, that's what became clouds, was Ymir's brains. Like, they're just like scattered around. So, yeah.
You ever feel like at some of the times with their legends, they just kind of phoned it in?
I think they were just on mushrooms or something.
Yeah, they're just phoning it in at the end. They're like, hey, what about its fucking brain? Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, that's perfect. That does not sound like you're making it up off the top.
Right.
I like to imagine that Snorri, when he was translating the Eddas, centuries later, was like, man, there's not enough to go on. This is pretty thin. 8-year-old playing in the corner. Hey, give me something to work with. Clouds, brains? Yeah, that's weird. All right.
Yeah.
I had a dream where the guy that worked at the library was made out of spit.
Yeah.
I can work with that. Perfect. Anything else? What if you could eat your goat every day? You know what? You kid are a fucking gold mine. This is fantastic. Keep it going.
Yeah. All right, Brennan. Let's give us another one.
We're going to cover Draupnir, which in Old Norse means the dripper. It's a gold ring.
Another super creative name. Knocked out of the park.
Right. It's a gold ring that Odin carries. And it does not stop multiplying.
Yeah.
So every 9 days, every 9 nights specifically, 8 new rings drip out of the original. So if you wanted to pretend you were Sonic the Hedgehog for some reason, it just continuously makes rings and does not stop.
Yeah.
And each one is the same size and weight as the original. Now, as Ben was referencing earlier, it was forged by Brokir and Eitri, the Dwarven brothers, possibly Sindri. They made it as one of a set of 3 gifts, including Gulenbursti, which I'll cover last, and Mjolnir, which everybody knows.
Uh-huh.
These were made in accordance with a bet that Loki made, saying they could not make better gifts than the dwarf sons of Ivaldi. And so, playing off of their egos against each other, he ended up getting all this loot made for the gods. And in the end, Mjolnir won.
Yeah.
Brokir and Eitri. Loki used the loophole to get out of the wager.
Yeah.
The wager was for his head.
Yep.
But not for the... So he's like, not entirely for the skull, because if you were to remove my whole head, you'd injure my neck. And you only said you'd injure my head. So there's no way that you can do it all without, breaking your promise. And
he's just the biggest actually in history.
He's a massive troll. And
Yeah.
so Borokir just got fed up with him and said, you know what, I know how to punish your head, and sealed his lips shut with wire.
Yeah.
Which sounds entirely appropriate.
Yeah. So does lips. Yeah. Not fun. Yeah. That's why Loki is often pictured with, he's got like scars across his lips from like having his mouth been sewn shut.
That's right. So when we covered how Baldur was murdered with a spear of mistletoe or an arrow, depending on the story.
Yeah.
And so at his funeral, Odin took Draupnir and placed it on the funeral pyre. However, it was retrieved by Hermor, who took it after so it was not destroyed, and then it was just taken.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it ended up in the hands of Freyr's servant Skimir, trying to marry Gerur in its separate place. So apparently, as the gods are sort of their influence is leaving, the world or whatnot, stories about men, or as we approximate and get closer to the age of man, I suppose, it was apparently passed around.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think, wouldn't it be in the hands of more people if it wouldn't stop multiplying?
Did all of them multiply, or just the main one multiplied?
Just the main one, I think.
Yeah, the main one multiplied.
That's the thing, though. They don't really cover a lot because it's the Eddas. And Norse mythology doesn't
what
cover
you don't understand is then, in the 1800s, it was then found in the man whose last name was Tiffany.
Damn it.
See what I did there?
Yes.
So it's really
he
funny.
started his own jewelry company.
And then, after making enough money, he finally cherished and went after his dream of someday serving breakfast.
And I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I didn't remember the picture. She's so excited about it. This poor girl has no hope of normal life.
No.
Joel and I, for 1 second.
Whose turn is it now?
I believe it is back to you, Joel.
Loud dog bark. Yeah, so Joel and I were mortal enemies for years until we both learned that we both happened to like breakfast at Tiffany's.
Who was mortal enemies?
Oh, you and I. We were at each other's throats.
I don't remember that. I did like breakfast. I'm not even gonna lie.
There you go. So many good times.
So now for the third one on my side, we're going to talk about the god Mimir. Mimir is an Aesir. He was known to dwell in a well at the base of Yggdrasil, where all rumors and knowledge and things flowed and coalesced into this pool. So he knew everything. And he's mentioned a few times in the Poetic Edda. He is the one that Odin came to in seek of knowledge and wisdom. And he's the one that charged Odin his eye in order to get knowledge.
Yeah, to drink from the well, yeah.
In the most badass god form. God was just like, no problem, pull his own eyeball out. Yeah. But in the following the Aesir Vanir War, Freya and Frey came to live on Asgard with the Aesir, and Mimir and looks like Hodemus Holt went to live with the Vanir. Now, Mimir knew everything. He was very wise. And the other one was not, and only mimicked what Mimir said. So, Mimir left for a period of time, and they asked all these questions of this other guy, Holt. And he wouldn't give a straight answer. So they got so mad at him when Mimir came back, they're like, he doesn't know a damn thing, and you knew he doesn't know a damn thing. And they beheaded both of them. One because he was stupid, and the other one for knowing he was stupid. And so Odin then retrieved Mimir's head and brought it back from the dead. I don't know why he didn't bother to bring the rest of his body. Just his head.
Because that way Mimir couldn't leave again.
In which he carried around in a bag and would just ask it questions.
Yeah. Because Mimir had the knowledge, and for some reason he would talk to him even though he beheaded him.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, you'd be bored. You'd be bored as a head for a while.
Yeah. Like, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Mimir was a god of knowledge that then just became a talking head.
Yeah.
Honir was the guy's name. Mimir and Honir, not the other one. That was the wrong name. Mimir and Honir.
Yeah.
Honir was dumb.
Yeah. So, I actually have a second one, or a fourth one, once if we end up having time for it. But the other...
Keep digging into this. This is the weirdest religion I've ever heard of.
Yeah. So this one is about another goddess that we haven't touched on, named Signy. So the gods were not particularly. Never mind. That's not how I'm going to tell this story. So Signy was due to marry this guy Siggeir, whom she didn't like at all because he was puny and annoying, apparently. And so basically, I don't know if like her not liking him led to this or what, but basically Siggeir decided to kill Signy's father and all of her siblings except for one, named Sigmund. And they decided to plot to kill her husband. Signy already had two sons who proved to both be incompetent at killing Siggeir and ended up like fucking up somehow. So she decided, you know what? I need some more family. I need some more help from my family. So to do this, she decided, I can't talk about this one in front of Leo. Oh, can he hear? No, okay. To do this, She slept with her brother Sigmund for 3 nights to create a stronger warrior and to continue the family bloodline, because her other 2 sons had died trying to kill Siggeir, who apparently isn't that puny because he's killing all these gods. Apparently, this guy was able to actually complete the job and kill Siggeir. So the whole thing was Siggeir's whole problem of hating her husband was solved by incest. So that's fun.
Now, I believe Siggeir is in Germany known as Siegfried, and the story is covered in the Nibelung Lied.
Yeah,
and this is one of those intersections
of like Germanic and Scandinavian. So it's like, which one is better? Sort of deals.
I don't know about that, but yeah, there's certainly different interpretations of it. But I know that story in particular has influenced a lot of art. Wagner made an opera about it. So, horny helmets, metal boobies, and all that.
Is that where that
movies?
Yeah, that's where that yeah, that's where that one came from. Huh. Yeah, I just found that one. I was like, this is weird. This is all of the weird, and I don't know why all of their names start with Sig.
I mean, if you think about it, Roger Clemens named all of his kids names that started with K because K means strikeout in baseball. So people have been named for stupider reasons.
That's fair. That is very fair. All right, Brendan, what's your third dwarven artifact?
We're gonna roll it out with Gulenbursty, which means gold mane or golden bristles. It is a mechanical boar that is so shiny, wherever it goes, it cannot be night. And it is so well built, as apparently most of our things are. It runs faster than any horse alive on both land and air.
Huh. So it can fly.
It can fly. Imagine a pig just racing through the sky faster than any animal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it also like shit gold or something?
Yeah, so as any animal does, it eats some poops, and apparently everything about it is shiny and gold.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Yeah, so that was the third artifact that Brock and Sindri made, the sons of Ivaldi made for the gods, and they decided, you know what? We got all this stuff that makes gold. Why do I care about Sif having gold hair?
Yeah. And apparently it was respected enough that nobody killed it. Because Freyr instead hooked it up to a chariot and pulled up to Baldur's funeral in a Lambo, basically.
Yeah.
He'll pull up in the funeral to Gulenbursty pulling his chariot. So, an animal that runs faster than any other, made mechanically of gold, poops gold, and glows in the dark. That's
nice.
To me.
Wild.
There's a shitload of gold replication stuff in this one.
They just liked gold.
They really did.
Dwarves, man.
They really just love the idea of, like,
self-replicating gold.
Free gold, free food. Like,
they dig too deep, man. They want it all.
That's the whole thing. Is like all their animals. Oh, we can slaughter. They don't mind cooking.
Yeah.
It's not like
infinite food. Nope.
Yeah, they don't want infinite immediately edible food. They like to season their own shit.
Well, they also like having animals that they can just kill and eat and then resurrect the next day.
But they still have to cook them. Like, I mean, if I had enough permanent thing, it'd be like, I'd smack it and turn it into a buffet. I'd be like, it falls apart into tacos.
You'd cast Heroes Feast.
Yeah, it'd already be there.
Yeah.
That's why I like D&D, because they had it right. I don't have to do any work. There's no like slaughtering of the animal. It's just bonk it on the head and turns itself. So yeah. So I think, are we done?
I've got one more. Because this one's funny. It doesn't start out funny, but it ends up funny. So there's this giantess, Scotty. Basically, the gods, due to some Loki trickery, ended up killing her father. Now, she's in charge, basically leads all of the ice giants, and she's demanding vengeance for the basically the unlawful killing of her father. So she shows up and she's like, I'm going to storm this. This is before Asgard had all the walls that couldn't be, traversed. And so she's like, I'm going to march down here with all my giants. Or else. Basically, she's like, pay me back for killing my dad, or I'm going to fuck you up. So the gods were like, all right, hold on. So they get her to agree to three terms. She gets the first one being that she gets to the husband of her choosing, that she can only choose by his feet, because she wanted she was like was making some goo eyes at Balder. The second was they had to memorialize her father's eyes in the stars. And then the third was they had to give her one good, honest to God laugh. So like she ended up having to choose like all the eligible bachelor gods like went behind a curtain, and she had to choose them by her feet. She did not get Balder. I can't remember which one she ended up picking, but that one ended up okay. The other one, that was easy again for the gods. This last one proved difficult, of getting her to laugh. None of them were able to make her laugh. And so basically, finally, they're like, all right, Loki, your turn up to bat. If anyone can make this chick laugh, it's you. And Loki's like, I got this. But what he did confuses the fuck out of everybody. He brought in a goat. And he took a rope. And he tied it to the ghost's balls. And then he tied the other end of the rope to his balls. And then proceeded to have a tug of war with the goat. And both Loki and the goat screamed in pain during this tug of war until finally Loki collapsed. And only then did the giantess laugh. So he got her to laugh, but at what cost?
Loki had wild schizophrenia. Is that what we're saying?
I mean, it's just he has chaos energy, so he's like, fuck it.
Yeah, he is. He's that one story of like Loki being a primordial chaos god makes sense.
Yeah. So that was probably the wildest one I came across. But just basically, Loki's like, I know what'll work. Slapstick. You know what'll work? Slapstick comedy. Yeah. Boom.
This just tells me that everyone who is complaining about Loki's behaviors and orientation and what have you on the MCU movies and the TV show
hasn't read the myths.
Not read the myths. This guy is nuts.
Yeah.
I just think like we all know that person who's like, I know what you're going to find funny and will slap themselves in their face or something. I'm going to be honest. I want to see a goat-human tug-of-war by a nutsack.
You probably don't, because it will probably not end well.
No, I don't.
Unless it's one of those like bodybuilder guys, like the strongman types that somehow are able to like pull trucks with them. That might be funny.
With their nuts?
Yeah.
I mean, goats are not that big.
Yeah.
Like they're not like, it's not like a gazelle.
Yeah, but if it gets a good running start, you know what's going to happen.
The trick is the goat is so low to the ground and it has all four of its legs. You have to really drop low or else it'll pull you on your ass.
Yeah. We're assuming this is done on hands and knees. He's on his hands and knees, crawling away.
Oh, God.
He's crawling. Like this. Like that's his bum.
They'd probably be that color after a good long tug. After the tug of war goes for a while. Yes.
That was
the peak. I did not need that.
Yeah, still on that note, we're wrapping up our Norse myth. We'll probably revisit it maybe later when we have some more common sense and have read a lot more, but not today.
Not today.
This half-ass bullshit we have thrown out and enjoyed every second of it.
Perfection, Joel. That was by far the best one that we could have closed it out with.
I feel like most of our conversations could be closed out with a tug of war between goats. Like, that's how a lot of our campaigns should end. A lot of been in my conversations.
Yeah.
Like I feel
it
like
makes sense.
Because it makes no sense.
Yeah. So on that note, thanks everybody for watching or listening or what have you. Catch us again. Yeah, that's probably the better term. We'll catch you again on Thursday, where we'll be having our next episode of our Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign. And other than that, catch you with the book talk on Monday, where we'll be talking about Killers of the Flower Moon. And then, in the meantime, me and Brennan are going to figure out what the hell we're going to talk about for 40K.
I will do nothing.
Yes, excellent.
I will contribute nothing to this next section.
All right.
But I will ask questions and be dumb.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you again on Thursday.